It is the Corner Booth Podcast pregame show here on KORN News Radio. I'm Travis Kriens. Mitchell Republic's Landon, Dierks, Marcus Traxler here as we look back at the previous week of high school football across South Dakota and preview the week coming up. As some of these teams here, 11B, 9-man, they're about halfway done with their season already, Marcus. And it probably is true, but it seems like the high school football season is the quickest, especially if you're not in the playoffs or if you get knocked out in that first playoff round. You're there for maybe 8-9 weeks, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, you think about it in a lot of different lights of, there's no, for the players that are playing, it's these 8 regular season games. It's what you have in the playoffs. There's no redshirting. There's no getting extra eligibility.
No preseason games.
No preseason games. The preseason practices are 2 weeks in a lot of cases, and then let's fire it up, let's go. And so
by Halloween, you're done.
I mean, for the majority of the teams in the state, yeah, they're done. We'll be down to probably 28 teams by that point, or very close to that number. So it's just, it goes quickly, and obviously there's a rhythm to football that you don't necessarily have in the other sports where, where you might be off for a week just because you don't have any games. Like, there's a rhythm pretty much.
You're going to play every Friday night for the most part, 6,
aside
7
from
o'clock.
a bye week, and Mitchell and the bigger schools don't have that. So, yeah, you get in the rhythm of every Friday night we're playing, or Saturday morning as it happened to be last week.
Yawn, yes.
So, yeah, it's I don't know, it's fun, but it does go quickly, obviously.
We do have Mitchell Colonel football coming up Friday night, kickoff here at 7 o'clock. We will be on time. Weather will be good. There will be no rain. There will be no storms. Mitchell hosting Watertown here on Friday night.
You're playing a dangerous game with that, Trev.
I am. All the rain we've gotten earlier in the week. We're looking at another nice fall evening for football. Mitchell 42-16 losers at Spearfish. Mitchell falls to 1-2 on the season. Game did not get started till 9:30 Central Time, 9:30 Mountain Time, 10:30 Central. 2-hour game, and ended up 12:35 or so Central Time is when they wrapped it up. A 3.5-hour lightning delay. I was there. Landon, you were keeping tabs. How did you spend your time in between the scheduled kickoff at 7 until about 3.5 hours later?
I had the SD Prep Red Zone, 4 tabs open, watching 4 different games elsewhere in the state while trying to keep up with you on the radio and making sure that the game wasn't going to resume and surprise me. And so I was busy watching other games. There was other football action going on that I had to keep tabs on.
42-16 Spearfish won, and I got there about an hour before the game, and it had started to rain, and the teams were not out on the field, so I'm wondering, is this going to start on time? About 40 minutes before the game, the teams finally entered the stadium, and there was 11 and a half minutes to go on the clock when it froze, when they said we are in a lightning delay. And that's 30 minutes for lightning. I thought, okay, what is it? Is it 20, 25, 30 minutes? It's a half-hour delay for every lightning strike. So the folks here got a double dose of the corner booth. We're like, all right, we played it at 6, and our pregame show had started, and we had not yet talked to Pat Larson yet. When we got the word, let's do this. So we got to the top of the hour, and like, know what? Let's play the corner booth again. We're going to go back to back for the people that missed it or were waiting on the game. And then finally at 9:30 Mountain, game finally got started. Another game where you look at the Brookings game, a couple plays here and there. Brookings 13-0 at half the previous week, and kind of the same story here, Landon, where 14-10, about 90 seconds to go in the half. Colonels have scored twice after getting shut out the previous week. They've got the ball deep in their own territory, trying to run the clock out. They got a bit too aggressive. Jackson Hartman throws a interception to his quarterback counterpart, returns it to the 12. Spearfish would score on a quarterback run the very next play. So 4-point deficit becomes an 11-point deficit with just over a minute to go. And then there was a 55-yard punt return as time expired. So just a disastrous final 2 minutes for the Mitchell offense. Instead of going into the locker room, maybe down 14-10. At that point, it was 28-10. Ball game essentially over. And just some miscues, some poor decisions kind of got this game got away from Mitchell very, very quickly right before halftime.
Yeah, the play that I had circled was they opted to pass on 2nd and 10 from their own 15, which I don't take it against him for being aggressive, but it just didn't feel like the right time. I mean, you were in the game. Spearfish was not doing anything too crazy to pull away from you, and it just felt like they put the ball maybe in harm's way just at the wrong time. It was an unnecessary risk, and then the punt return at the end of the half. Pat Larson said as much to you after the game. It was a breakdown. Mm-hmm. If that was going to be the last play of the first half, the time was expiring as the punt happened, and so you got to get him out of bounds. You got to get him on the ground somehow,
or kick it out of bounds, or do something.
And so just a not a good sequence of events there that, I mean, really took Mitchell out of the game. I mean, you think about how deflating that is, where you think you might be going into the locker room down 4 points against a pretty good Spearfish team, I think, and instead you look up and all of a sudden it was 18 just in the blink of an eye.
I say this a lot, but hindsight, we have the benefit of the hindsight. We saw how it unfolded, so it's only obvious that Mitchell would want another chance at that or would do it differently. I think Landon talked about the pass, and was it that one that got picked off or the next one? Right, so that throw got picked off. It never had a chance. There were 3 Spearfish guys standing there. But Mitchell is just not a quick strike team. That's become obvious here with what they've accomplished so far this season. So I know that you're trying to, get down there, maybe get a field goal. You're within 1 at that point or potentially even score. But as you pointed out during the broadcast, they were going to get the ball to start the second half, correct? So if you just take a wash on that, and for whatever reason, it didn't seem like Spearfish was necessarily prepared to use the timeouts there. I suppose if second and third downs would have unfolded, maybe they would have. But then the next possession they did. They used the 2 timeouts they had left. That was what was able to force the punt. So it was mismanaged. There's just no way around that. And unfortunately, that's one of those things where mismanaged probably from the coaching perspective, and then players just did not execute, and it was just a bad combination all the way around.
And then at a halftime, as if you didn't think things could spiral any further, you go on. I thought it was honestly their best drive of the season so far, even though it didn't result. They drove 7 minutes, almost 75 yards, and they come up with no points because they fumbled inside the 10-yard line, and that just had to be crushing because, I mean, if that was they were going to be right back in it at that point. You could have been down 10 points.
Or you could have at least made the argument that we're at least within shouting distance here. Let's try to get a stop, that sort of thing. And, can't have a fumble in the red zone. And, it as we've talked about, it comes down to, didn't mean to cut you off, but it also comes down to just finishing drives, long drives. They've had them, and they just have not finished drives the way they need to, and that just makes everything they're going up against that much more difficult.
And just to, I guess, finish that thought, is it was only 3 or 4 plays later because Spearfish ripped off a long run on the second play after the fumble. 3 or 4 plays later, they were back in the end zone, and it was 25 points, 4 possessions at that point. I mean, the game was effectively over at that point.
Yeah, once Mitchell got the game to 14-10, Spearfish ran 4 offensive plays, if I'm reading this right, and the score returned to 35-10.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, for Mitchell, like you mentioned, they're not a team that's going to bust out 40 or 50-yard runs. They've proven they can have long 10 to 14-yard drives, but they're not going to have those long drives, or those long explosive plays, which you're going to need when you're at the 15-yard line and there's 90 seconds left, and they only had the 1 timeout, and you are a long way away. So, being aggressive, that's probably a situation where you want to go into the locker room, keep that ball on the ground, let the clock run, and maybe have Spearfish use those timeouts. Colton Smith had his first 2 catches. Colton Smith, 52 yards on the 2 catches, his first 2 of his career. And then Mitchell finally got Kendon Skinner involved in the offense. He's that lone receiver and has not had a catch yet, but they gave him the ball late. 3 runs for about 30 yards. He's by far the fastest. He's by far the shiftiest and maybe hardest to bring down if he's not the biggest. So to get him involved in this running game where you've got Logan Bessler in that fullback position and Caden Allen and the quarterback Jackson Hartman, you've got Luke LeBrun. I mean, you add Kendon Skinner to this, maybe they mix him in a little bit and get him 5 to 8 touches a game in the backfield because he is very fast and very difficult to bring down.
A little bit of a preview, I guess. I will be having a teaser about just the big bodies in the backfield, really, that Mitchell are employing right now. And they're doing it to pretty good effect. I mean, there is something to be said about, they are sustaining drives better than they have in quite some time. It just feels like maybe they do need a little bit of a change of pace injected into that group. And even though we only had 3 carries, I thought Kenan Skinner did really good with that on Friday night.
Well, you mentioned those 3 main running backs. They're all averaging 5 yards a carry. Now, some of that's skewed by the matchup with Douglas to start the season. In the same light, is it as bad as it's looked the last 2 games? Probably not either. So, that's probably one of the positives. Is I think if you're going to play this particular style, and like I said in the beginning of the season, I don't have a problem with it, but you gotta stay consistent. You got to ride it. You got to be patient. And unfortunately, some of the things we've talked about of 10, 11 play drives that don't finish with touchdowns, it becomes a little frustrating. So I'm interested to see, if Mitchell can just keep sort of banging away with the rushing offense, and then can they get a change of pace back that's able to rip off some of these bigger chunk plays?
And you're hoping if your offense moves the ball and you can take 6 or 7 minutes off the clock on a drive, you're hoping to shorten the game because you've given up 40 points to Brookings. They gave up 42 to Spearfish, just way too many. Some of that on special teams and defense. But you're not going to win no matter how good your offense is. You're not going to win if you're going to give up 5 or 6 touchdowns a game on the defensive end. So,
well, and one of the things I was kind of looking at was been compiling some past history. I think they've scored in the single digits in the last 4 years, like 17 times. I mean, this is kind of what they are. They're not a high-scoring team. They are not an explosive team offensively. That's what they've been the last 4 or 5 years. So, and they've averaged in the 10, 11, 12, 13 points a game, and right now that number's skewed because they scored 50-some in the first game, but there's just not a lot of scoring opportunities for Mitchell traditionally, and so I don't know. I think it becomes that much more apparent that you got to finish those long drives, and you need your defense to get off the field when they have the opportunity, and that was also an issue, or has been an issue through the first few games.
One of those touchdowns that Spearfish had was at the 33-yard line on a 3rd and 26. You're like, this needs to be a stop. This needs to be a punt, and Mitchell maybe gets it inside the 10 or the 20, but that needed to be a stop. So you look at the 42 points that Spearfish scores, one of them on the punt return, one of them on they start the drive at the 12, and then another one that's essentially a 40-yard pass right at the goal line on a 3rd and 26. So you're looking at the ifs, ands, and buts of this one. Big plays, punt returns, 3rd and 26s that need to turn into stops.
One positive that Landon and I were talking about here just a little bit ago is Mitchell, they're converting 3rd downs at about 42%, which is a little bit better than I would have expected. And then 4th down, they're 5 of 9 so far this season. You probably don't want to have to go for 9 4th downs through 3 games. Their opponents have only had to do it twice, but that's better than I would have expected. So they've shown a propensity to be able to extend these drives, make plays, sort of continue things. I'm just interested to see what is the mix going forward offensively. They've run the ball plenty. They've ran it 113 times. They've thrown it 32. You have to be able to throw the ball a little bit to keep the defense honest, but there's no question that the rushing is their strength. And they're putting a lot into that. If you count the Douglas game, they're averaging 171 rushing yards a game. So I think it's just, can they get that to just be a little bit more explosive? If some of those runs are 20, 30, 40-yard plays, it just makes everything a little smoother, but that's easier said than done, obviously.
I think it's worth pointing out, they have more rushing yards in 3 games than they had all of last season.
Yeah.
They had, 450 last year, low 400s maybe?
486. I went back and looked.
They're probably going to switch the passing and the rushing because they had like 1,300 passing yards last year. I'm sure they're
at 229 right now.
Yeah, they'll be pretty close to that for the season. Watertown, the opponent, coming up here. Watertown's 0-3, but they played Jefferson. They played number 1 Yankton. They played Pierre last week. And finally, the Pierre offense showed up with 41 points in a 41-19 win versus Watertown.
Must have been the turf.
Wherever that came from Pierre, a team that scored 16 points combined in the first 2 games. Watertown 0-3, but you're defending champs. Mitchell played one of their best halves of football last year at Watertown, and Watertown beat Pierre last year in Vermilion for the state championship. So whether it's this game or another game, you feel like there's going to be that one game where Mitchell puts it all together, where they're not going to turn it over. They're going to finish some of these long drives. The defense is going to get a stop. Whether it's this game or not, you feel like, is there one of those games in Mitchell? And we'll see if it's maybe on Friday.
Well, we love to draw parallels. You were there, Travis. Would you not say that what happened just this last Friday mirrors in a lot of ways what happened against Watertown a year ago, where Mitchell was in a good position late in the first half, and then it just kind of got away from him?
Yeah, without that first half collapse, third quarter came and Watertown kind of took over the game, and it was a big third quarter last year at Watertown.
We like to project ahead. Watertown right now, 8th in the seed points. Mitchell's 9. This is essentially a playoff game. If Mitchell's somehow able to win this game, give themselves a lot better chance to get into the postseason. Watertown would be 0-4. This would probably not age well for them in terms of postseason picture. And I'm looking, if you're looking for the silver lining here for Mitchell, Watertown's given up 48 points a game so far. Granted, against 3 really good offenses, but I would love to see what Mitchell, if Mitchell can sort of generate some offensive momentum, put Watertown on their heels, and muster some. Watertown scored 17 points a game so far. So whatever they can do to sort of make Watertown feel a little pressure, play well at home. Hopefully, I don't know. I'm looking for the nicest possible way for Mitchell to find a way forward here, because you want them to have some success. You know that they're putting a lot of hard work in. I don't know if it'll be this week. I do tend to agree with you, Travis, that I think they will find a night where they put it all together. I just don't know if it's going to be now or if it's going to be later on in the season.
This certainly is not the same Watertown team that just won a state title.
No.
They graduated a lot of talent from that team. It's hard to even, for me, writing the preview, to go back and find many players that made an impact last year against Mitchell that are still on the roster. So, that's at least something that's working maybe in Mitchell's favor, that, they don't have all these all-state kids back as they did a year ago.
Do you know what they put the location as when Watertown plays at home? Like for Mitchell, it's Joe Quinnell Field. For Yankton, it's Crane Youngworth Field. Do you know what they have for Watertown? You know what Watertown apparently put in for their thing?
I see it here.
Watertown High School Turf. They're so excited about the turf.
Yeah.
They have an official name for it, don't they?
It's Allen Mitchell Field or Allen Mitchell Complex or something.
Put it on there. But be proud of Al Mitchell. So Mitchell and Watertown coming up. The story of the season, though, thus far in 11AA, are the folks up north, and that is the Huron Tigers. They've knocked off a number 1 team, and they've knocked off a number 2 team at T area 16-0. So whatever this defense is doing for Huron, they limit Pierre to 7 points. The week before, they shut out T on the road. They've got Sturgis coming up Friday night. That's your game of the week right there at Sturgis, and that's jockeying for that number 2 spot behind Yankton. Huron makes a big jump up to number 2 this week. That's number 2 versus number 3. Huron and Sturgis. Nobody had that 3 weeks ago, and all of a sudden that becomes a very important game and maybe a good game between 2 pretty good teams.
Yeah, someone show me their bingo card and tell me that this September 19th matchup out in Sturgis was going to be the biggest one so far, because I think in the seed points it's 1 and 2. Unless they up. Yeah,
I think that's
1
right.
and 2 in the seed points. So this is pretty big for both those teams. Obviously, there's been several years here lately where both of them have missed out on the postseason, and right now they look like 2 of the 3 best teams in this division.
Well, and just going by the rankings, Huron's already played number 1, number 4, and number 5. They are number 2, and they play number 3 this week. And then the rest of their schedule: Spearfish, Douglas, Aberdeen, Mitchell, Brookings. They're not going to be scared by any of those opponents. They do not play an 11 AAA team. Again, apparently some teams get to, they decide, and some teams don't have to.
Well, there is only, I guess, 9 AAA teams. So
I understand that, but
two teams get the luck of the draw, we'll say.
So, and then you look at Sturgis, it's kind of the flip side. They've probably played a few of the more manageable opponents so far, including Douglas and Stevens. And now they'll play Aberdeen Central next week, but then after that, Yankton, Pierre, Watertown, Spearfish. So you may have teams going in different directions, but Sturgis can make a statement if they win this game against Huron.
Sturgis, they had that win versus Brookings week 1, and then they pounded Rapid City Stevens last week, 41-10.
Which is what you're asking them to do. Yeah. So,
coming up here this week, you have number 1 Yankton at Harrisburg. You have number 2 Huron at number 3 Sturgis. In the media poll, Brookings goes to Pierre, and then T area makes the long drive out to Douglas. Then you have Aberdeen with the long trip out to Spearfish. So no Yankton at Harrisburg, might be a loss for the Bucks, but playing up there with the AAA school.
You'd call that around the ESD right there.
Around the ESD, or 30 seconds around the ESD. We'll take a look here at the rest of Week 3 coming up. That 1 versus 2 matchup in 11A between Lennox and Sioux Falls Christian. Plus, we'll take a look at Wagner, Parkston Hanson. That was a defensive battle. Also a close win for Platte Geddes. You're listening to the Corner Booth pregame show. It's being brought to you by Jimmy John's in Mitchell, James Valley Landscape Solutions, and Marlin's Family Restaurants.
Feeling hungry but not sure what for? The buffet at Marlin's is the perfect choice. So many mouth-watering options, everyone will find something they crave, and no one leaves hungry. Marlin's offers a breakfast buffet on Saturdays and Sundays, 7 to 2, a lunch buffet Monday through Fridays from 11 to 2, then a dinner buffet Friday and Saturday from 5 to 9. And don't forget, kids eat free on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's Marlin's Family Restaurant in Mitchell.
At Jimmy John's, we don't make sandwiches. We make the sandwich of sandwiches. We use fresh veggies because we don't hate salads. We just feel bad for them. We make our sandwiches exactly how you want because you're the one who's eating it. And we bake bread all day, every day because stale bread isn't bread. It's croutons. Sandwich history is written by the victors. Good thing we have legible handwriting. Jimmy John's, the sandwich of sandwiches. Order pickup or delivery on the app.
Fall isn't the end of the growing season. It's the beginning of next year's beautiful landscape. At James Valley Garden Center, they make fall planting easy. Trees, shrubs, perennials, they all take root better in cool weather, and their team is ready to help you with expert advice. James Valley Garden Center is your local trusted partner for all things outdoors, season after season. James Valley Garden Center at 600 West Spruce. Let's go outside.
Corner Booth pregame show, KORN News Radio, FM 101.3 and AM 1490. Travis, Marcus, and Landon, we continue to look back at last week. You kind of expected this would be the way Parkston and Hanson would go. It's a 16-6 win for Parkston, Class 9AA from last week. A note from our friend in Parkston. He slipped me a note. So this is the first time ever Parkston's won at Hanson. Ever.
Wow,
ever.
Surprising.
They haven't played, we talked about last week, they just kind of started playing here in the last decade, but Parkston had never won at Hanson before on the Hanson turf, the new Hanson turf, but kind of a game between teams that are just outside the top 5 in 9AA. I voted, you'll be happy to know, I voted this week in the poll, went to the courthouse, and they said, no, this is not the place to do that at, so electronic voting only. And I think I did put Parkston, in that 5 spot. I think I had Parkston 4, and I kept Hanson at 5.
I had them both in my top 5.
I said Hill City. I'm sorry, Hill City, not today. Freeman Marion, Freeman Academy 1, Hamlin 2, Elkton Lake Benton 3, and then Parkston Hanson in that 4 and 5 spot for me. But 2 teams maybe on the road in the playoffs, but good win here for Parkston, 16-6.
That's exactly how I had them as well, and I think. This is Parkston has a much, I would say they both have tough schedules, but, the way Parkston's bounced back from that first loss in week 1, they've won 3 pretty solid games here. These are 2 teams that are always going to be physical with each other. It's part of why we look forward to this matchup each year. I think Hanson, now they've had 2 games here where they've been just super close to beating one of these top teams in this class. So I don't think they probably can hang their head too much. They have, a relatively difficult finish to the schedule. They have Chester, Howard, Viborg, Hurley, Canastota. I guess Chester's 0-3, but Howard, Viborg, Hurley, and Canastota, they're either all good programs this year or at least have the pedigree to pop up and play well. So I'm interested to see how that is sort of unfolds. But, Parkston to be in the situation they're in, and they still have some interesting conference games still ahead of them. But I think both these teams will be contenders, or at least in the mix, till the end of the year.
Our colleague Blake Durham wrote a story about Parkston and why they feel like they've found this footing here in the middle of the season, and it has a lot to do with the fact that we knew they were going to be a very similar team identity-wise to the one we've seen recently, but they just had some new pieces to put in place, and I think they finally found two guys that they really want to get the ball to in Gage Reichert and Mason Jervik, and those two guys are just tremendously talented, kind of thunder and lightning to a degree. I think Gage Reichert is still pretty quick, but
I was just thinking that, but they both, it's like thunder and lightning, but if they both could dish out both. Like, not that Gage Reichert is necessarily a bruiser, but like they're both physical backs that have quite a bit of speed, and so to have two of those essentially is a great combination to have.
And certainly we've seen it in football, and we see it in other sports too, but just Mason Jervik and his quickness, when you can get him on the edge or get him out in space, he's a playmaker. So I really like what Parkston is finding here. You mentioned that their schedule isn't exactly easy.
Yeah, they're off this week. Then they play Bonhomme on the 26th. They have Platte Geddes on October 3rd.
Circle that one.
Well, I mean, both those teams, Platte Geddes is still undefeated. They had to squeak, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but they had to squeak past Kimball White Lake last week. And that's going to be similar. They're both these are all physical teams. They know that very well. And then Parkston closes with Woolsey, Wessington, and Gregory. Parkston's going to be favored in all four of these games.
They can win all the way and go 7-1.
They certainly can win all four of them, but I think Bonhomme, Platte Geddes, and Gregory could all give them a game under the right circumstances.
Gregory pops up and scores 50 points every once.
Exactly.
On a somewhat regular basis, so you can't rule out that turns into a shootout, or if there's turnovers, all of a sudden this game flips on you.
Marion Freeman Academy had no problem at Gayville Vollen 61-6. We'll talk a little bit about their game at Alcester Hudson shortly. If you're wondering what game to watch on any given week, just watch Scotland Menno, because through 4 games, Scotland Menno games are averaging 75 points a game. They
take the over.
They beat Tripp Delmont, Armour, Andy, Central Dakota Christian.
The Sharps are catching on, though. That's the problem.
62-16. Put it at 70, and then they just keep going over. So, yeah, Scotland Menno, either they're giving up a bunch or they're scoring a bunch in 9AA. You talked about Platte Geddes and Kimball White Lake. 22-20. Platte Geddes stays undefeated, and that was the game you were looking forward to, Landon. And Kimball White Lake almost pulled it off, but Platte Geddes still undefeated here, ranked 4th again this week in Class 9A.
Yeah, I think this was the first really stiff test that we were going to see Platte Geddes face, and they passed it, right? I mean, I never think it's a bad or it's something to be overlooked when a team from one of the smaller enrollment divisions beats one of the teams from the upper enrollment divisions, because we see often it's the reverse. And I mean, especially I think it's particularly pronounced when it's 9AA against 9B. Mm-hmm. That wasn't obviously the case. It was 9AA versus 9A in this, but there is a difference sometimes. And for Platte to take it to a team that, one, is familiar with them, and 2, is from a higher division, kudos to the Black Panthers. I'm
just going to jump ahead just a touch. There's a few of those games that are notable this week. Marion Freeman Academy, Alcester Hudson is a where they're in different divisions. You've also got Centerville and Del Rapids St. Mary. Del Rapids St. Mary's undefeated, but Centerville is going to be one of the tougher teams they've played. Those two teams are not in the same class, so there's a few that I've kind of flagged as being interesting of matchups that are not in the same division.
Howard rolled over Chester 51-0. This is kind of the week of the byes, because Howard's off and Parkston's off and Hanson's off, so they've all got their
Howard
bye weeks.
hosts Canastota.
Oh yeah, Howard's in Canastota. Yep. I'm thinking of Parkston and Hanson. I think there's one more team that's off this week, maybe an 11B team. So it's an interesting week with all a handful of area teams not playing. Avon rolls over Corsica Stickney 54-8.
Howard might have gotten its groove back.
Yeah.
That's one of my takes from last week. And obviously, the longer Alcester Hudson keeps winning, the more that matchup doesn't look so bad. They only lost to him by 11. It was game 1 of the season. Alcester Hudson's backed it up since then, and Howard has scored 58, 52, and 51 against teams that they're capable of doing that against. And much like we talked about with Hanson, they've faced Canastota, Hanson, Garrettson, and Viborg Hurley. All games that are, familiar opponents, but none of those will necessarily be walkovers. So if Howard's somehow able to get to the end of the year at 7-1 or 6-2, Where does that put them necessarily in 9A? I don't know, but I would think top 5 somewhere in that situation. And I'm eager to see where things shake out in this 9A division.
I guess the game in 9-man that I think most people look forward to this week is Freeman at Alcester Hudson, a top team in 9AA, and Alcester Hudson has that 1 seed for seed points right now through 4 games, and Freeman has their last 3 games at home, and if they end up as that 1 seed, they'll have a long time at home heading into the playoffs, and this is just another test for Freeman. They've passed everyone so far, beating Parkston, beating Elkton Lake Benton. Seems like it's every other week they've got another test for Freeman, and they'll have to go on the road, long trip, and see how they can do here against Alcester Hudson. Maybe not such a long trip.
Not such
45 minutes, was it? Freeman?
Probably maybe an hour and 15 minutes, somewhere in there.
Check that out here.
You do the Googling there.
Freeman.
Landon, I don't know if this is correct. I'm going to be transparent. I'm looking at the SD Score Feed app. You got the 4-0 teams in 9A that are right now 1, 2, 3, 4 in seed points. And then number 5 is Phillip, and it says Phillip's 1-1. I'm going to guess they've played 3 games already, but just the idea of a 1-1 team right now being potentially 5th is kind of funny to me. Ahead of Howard, ahead of Centerville, and some of these teams that we've been paying attention to in this class.
Yeah, I just had to pull up Phillip's schedule real quick. It says they didn't play on the 29th of August, and they didn't play on the 12th of September. So
maybe
very odd.
Couldn't find a game.
Maybe somebody dropped a game. Yeah, I was told that there was a lot of moving around because Sisseton did not have a varsity schedule, so that's why Clark-Willow Lake and Sioux Valley are playing twice or have played twice already, and they split those matchups. So, which I have to be honest, I missed that news that Sisseton wasn't playing. So there's been some shaking around. And I know Winter is playing 9 games. We mentioned earlier that they were playing Groton. I wonder if that was maybe part of that, because I don't think Groton would be on Winter's schedule otherwise. So,
just back to your observations of the 9A standings, I was thinking something similar where if you have some of these undefeated teams hold serve throughout the rest of the regular season, you're going to have a lot of really decent 1 and 2 loss teams that are significantly down the standings and having lower seeds come the postseason time. Howard probably chief among them. You'd think right now, if everything obviously holds, which who knows if it will, but Howard probably could max out at the 5 because there's just there's a artificial ceiling there. If 4 teams go undefeated above you, they're going to get that extra seed point bump, and I don't see a way that you could be ahead of any of them. So
feels like there's
very interesting.
Like maybe 3 teams. If there's 4 teams undefeated, that's a heck of a deal.
Oh yeah,
that's 9A or wherever that may be. That'd be pretty impressive.
That would be.
But you've got Wall and Warner, and if you got these teams that are really separated that don't play each other.
We saw this 4 years ago. I think it was my first year here in 9A.
At 4 undefeated.
Where it was Harriet, Selby, Warner, Howard, and Wall. Was it not?
Well,
and they all, or it was DeSmet. It was DeSmet and not Warner. And they all met in the semifinals, and so we got undefeated in the Dome, and that was the year that Howard beat Harriet Selby. So, yeah, we've seen some of this, precedents for this before, but certainly not a regular occurrence by any means.
I know we'd mentioned previously, and I believe it's still true, that Platte Geddes is supposed to be in this Great Plains crossover at the end of the year. They played in it last year. They were on the road. I'm looking here.
And Freeman's got a...
And Freeman would be in that too. I'm just wondering about Alcester. They're in that conference. And I'm wondering if they would be home or away, because that would dictate maybe who they would potentially face. Because I'm wondering right now, with no other changes, you could have 4 undefeated teams at the end.
Alcester would be home.
So I don't think they could play Platte, because Platte was an away team last year, and they should be at home this year. So those 2 teams wouldn't match up. I don't know if Freeman, I don't think Freeman would play Alcester again. So I don't know.
So I'm guessing it'd probably be in that scenario Alcester, Avon, and Platte Freeman.
Maybe. Yeah.
All right.
Maybe. That's
who knows?
Speculation.
Hey, you look at those cross division matchups. Alcester Hudson beat Viborg Hurley last week, 28-26. As Alcester Hudson picks up a AA win, and you see, they barely get past the number 5 team in AA. So it's
Here's another thing, though.
how do they do against number 1 Freeman?
They also don't get any extra credit for that.
No.
Whereas in basketball and some of these other sports, you do get extra credit for beating a team above your division. So I don't know. I realize that there's only a certain number of teams and you have to play across the divisions, but
it doesn't have to be a 10-point, but I mean,
no, but
just
a couple
small,
a couple points. I mean,
Couple tenths here,
Yeah.
quarter of a point.
because I'm sure Alcester Hudson's saying, why are we playing these games when we don't get any extra bonus for playing a team that is
Canastota, Garrettson and Howard and all these teams.
Also, we talked highlights a little bit last week. Did you see the end to that, Alcester? Hook and ladder for the win.
Nice.
Very well executed. Nicely done.
And then you also had Fulton with a 3-point loss to Warner. Warner number 2 in AA, Fulton number 4 in Class A. So good job, Fulton.
Fulton's played a tough schedule.
And they were in the lead until very late, too.
Yeah, Fulton has they played Ipswich, Harriet Selby, and Warner, and they play Sully Buttes next week. So they will play 4 of the tougher teams in that part of the state, 9-man wise, and they could be 2 and 3 at that point. We talk about teams you don't necessarily want to play in the 9B playoffs. I think Fulton potentially would be on that list. Because the 2 games they've lost have been by a combined 7 points.
Yeah. You look at that, who they played, how have they fared, keeping those 1-score games. It's KORNer Booth, pregame show here. It's brought to you by Marlins and Mitchell, Jimmy Johns, and James Valley Landscape Solutions.
If we enter October and Fulton is 1-4, which is possible because they'll play a 9 AA Loyola Frederick team, and like you said, Sully Buttes.
Don't forget.
That's the best 1-4 team in the state, without a doubt, I think.
Class 11B, Wagner 20-8 against Mount Vernon Plankington, maybe closer than a lot of people thought.
Yeah, it looked like MVP was able to play the game a little bit closer to how they wanted. I think Wagner had a couple big plays that sort of tipped the scales in that game, but it was 20-8 for a lot of the fourth quarter, and you really can't say enough about Wagner right now to start the season 4-0, and they still have some tough matchups ahead, but have the win over Winter, have the win over MVP, beat a team that we expected to be probably better than they've been, but they've also had a tough schedule in Hot Springs. So really impressed with what Wagner's done so far, and they're one of 6 undefeated teams still out there in 11B at this point.
Mentioned last week the possibility of Winter and Pierre both losing. Pierre did not. Winter did. Winter, they drop again a 20-8 final as well to number 1 Elk Point Jefferson. So a second loss for Winter, and they've got Woonsocket, Wessington Springs, Sanborn Central. And I mean, this is the year to get them if you're anybody, including the Bucks.
Landon watched a decent amount of that Winter EPGA game, and Winter did not play bad. I would say didn't necessarily have the firepower to win the game, but hung with Elk Point Jefferson. And I don't know how many teams are going to do that this year because Elk Point Jefferson, I think, has the ability to blow away some teams. And
man, they are big up front.
They're big. They're really
huge.
Big. Which is, again, like we've talked about before, that's something you'd say about Winter. And not that Winter's small, but that's how you win. You win in the trenches, and Elk Point Jefferson is built there to be successful.
And again, like you've mentioned, Winter just doesn't maybe have that explosiveness to score. I mean, putting up 8 points, EPJ, plenty good, but we've seen a Winter held under 20 when they play.
They're averaging 21 points a game. They're giving up 23. So
unlike them.
It's not like them, yeah.
Woonsocket, Wessington Springs, Sanborn Central. They lost in the playoffs last year to Winter 44-0, but in the regular season matchup, it was 30-18, and that was on the road. This game is not in Winter, so I mean, this is the chance to see where the Bucks stand, and if they can keep it close or if they play well. I mean, this is the year, kind of like Pierre last year. Like that was the year to get Pierre. Like this appears to be the year to get Winter if you have them on the schedule.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know how good the Bucks are so far.
We'll find out.
They beat Bridgewater Emory Ethan in the first game by 1 point, and then they beat a couple 0-3 teams so far. And so I think Winter, I think this is a really interesting game from a motivation standpoint. No question, Woonsocket Western Springs is motivated to show, okay, we deserve to be in the conversation, which would be really interesting considering who they lost. They lost their quarterback. They lost one of the best playmakers at receiver. And if they're able to be 4-0 and all of a sudden we've got an undefeated matchup next week with Wagner, that would be pretty interesting. At the same time, Winter's saying we don't want to be 2-3. We want to show that we're a lot better team than we've been. So I think there's a lot riding on this matchup here between these two teams.
I would just echo everything. I went back and looked, and I think the last time Winter lost 3 regular season games was 2005.
Yeah.
I mean,
it doesn't happen.
2 decades since they've lost 3 regular season games. It just quite truly does not happen. And the road doesn't necessarily get easier. So this is a really important bounce back spot for the Warriors, I think, just to kind of stabilize and maybe prove it to themselves that, like, hey, we're still a very good team. We can still win games in tough spots. I think this is an important one.
And the schedule gets a lot tougher for Woonsocket Weston Springs, as we said. They face Winter here. They get Wagner next week. Miller Highmore Herald has shown that they're not an easy out so far. Chamberlain's got a little bit of confidence, 2-2, and then Mount Vernon Plank. We talk about teams that are better than maybe their record. They're 1-3. They've played a really tough schedule here over the first 4 games as well.
Tough loss for Bridgewater Emory Ethan. They lose 21-20 at Beersford. I did not have that one, and they let that one get away late. And then you mentioned the Sioux Valley Clark Willow Lake game, where I looked at their schedule and like, oh, they're like twice in 3 weeks they're playing. Is that a misprint there? But no, Sioux Valley beat them a couple weeks ago, and then Clark Willow Lake upsets them 26-8. You just odd that they play, and then odd that it's kind of a reversal of fortunes there. Just a couple weeks. The NFL made the schedule apparently, and good win for Clark Willow Lake, knocking off a Sioux Valley team that's maybe not as good as they were last year. Yeah,
my friend of myself and Landon, Andrew Holton of the revamped Brookings Register, pointed that out when I talked to him the other day. Of like, yeah, they both needed games, and they said, well, neither one was really afraid to play again, and so they put another game on the books. And I like that they found a solution rather than having to settle for 7 games. I mean, I'm sure neither team's probably thrilled that they split the matchups, because I'm sure both would like to have a sweep. But
very interesting that they won on each other's home field.
Yeah, home field's not worth much between Clark and Volga. So it's good that they were able to get the game on the books. And obviously that, like we said earlier, that was caused by the Sisseton change in what they were going to do this season.
And we're kind of recapping things at the halfway point of the season for a lot of these teams, and I'm looking at how many undefeated teams are left in each class. There's only 3 in 9B, that being Avon, Del Rapids, St. Mary's, and Sully Buttes, which is no surprise there. 9A, they only have 4 undefeated teams left at 4-0. You have 9AA, they've got only 3 undefeated teams, so a lot of these 9-man classes, you're looking at 3 or 4 teams left. 11-man, it gets a little bit more spread out. You have 6 undefeated teams left in 11B. You have 3 in A, and then in 11AA, you've got 2, of course, Sturgis and Yankton.
It's interesting because 2 of the notables in 11B, I would say, aside from Woonsocket, who we've already talked about, and Wagner, is Dual and Mobridge Pollock. Mobridge Pollock's look pretty dang good defensively, but they have not played the toughest competition, and they have winless Webster, winless Belfouche, winless Lee Deadwood their next 3 games. So very realistic that they're going to be 6-0. Then they would play Clark Willow Lake, and they would play Dual, another team that's 3-0, but Dual's got a much tougher schedule here coming up. They still have to play Sioux Valley, Clark Willow Lake, and Mobridge Pollock, as we said. So I wouldn't expect necessarily either of those teams probably to be undefeated all the way to the end, but they could be no worse than 6-2 or maybe even 7-1, and that could be meaningful in terms of some of the teams we talk about in our area having to head up north to play those teams.
And then you had the 1 versus 2 matchup. Sioux Falls Christian defeats Lennox 17-0 in 11A. Lennox beat Sioux Falls Christian in the championship last year. So a definite 1 in Sioux Falls Christian, a 2 in Lennox. Maybe you look at Madison at 3. Where does Madison fit in after beating Del Rapids by a point the previous week? So yeah, looking if there's a Madison Sioux Falls Christian game, that's another test there to see how good the Chargers are.
2 weeks away, September 26th in Madison. Those 2 teams are lined up to play each other. Sioux Falls Christian, I would say, has a game that they probably can't overlook here. They have Canton, who's 2-1 on the road this week, and so that'll be one to keep an eye on. But and then they have to close pretty hard. They got Del Rapids and Dakota Valley in their last 2 games. But Madison's been one of the teams that's been impressive to me so far, starting 3-0. And right now those are 1-2. And we could have another 1-2 matchup, as you said, 2 weeks from now.
Mitchell, Watertown coming up at 7 o'clock Friday. Our Corn Country game with Shawn Michaels. We're sending him to Wagner for Wagner, Bridgewater, Emory, Ethan. And then Clinton Greenway, Q1073, is going to Howard for Howard, Canastota. Any Mitchell Republic road travels this week?
We'll have somebody at the Howard, Canastota game. We'll have somebody at the Winter Bucks game in Westington Springs. And obviously we'll keep an eye on Mitchell as well. So
the box scores, the Mitchell box score, I mean, it was a really good box score for Mitchell. They had 21 first downs. They had all those third down conversions. They were like, 70, 75% on third down. They outgained Spearfish by like 20 yards. Some of those, defensive special team touchdowns and short drives for Spearfish. Dakota Wesleyan, again, assuming this is correct with the Dakota Wesleyan box score, they lose to Concordia 27-22. Wesleyan gives up 2 field goals in the fourth to lose it. Wesleyan had the ball for almost 42 minutes. That is incredible. Incredible.
So Landon and I talked about this before you walked in here. DW ran, this is my research according to me that I've done. DW ran 89 offensive plays in that game. That's the most they've ran in 7 years. They have been in the 50, 60, 70 play range for a lot of the last few years, but back when they were better, quite frankly, they ran a lot more plays. They also faced 22 third downs in that game, the most they've faced in a game since 2017. So very strange game. As you said, if the time of possession's right, I have no idea the last time they had 40 plus minutes of time of possession. They played 3 games so far, right? And they got quadrupled up in yardage in the first game and they won that when they probably, box score wise, they shouldn't. Probably should have won this game box score wise and they didn't. And now they play a very interesting matchup against Northwestern this week. Interesting to me because Mount Marty just beat Northwestern, one of the perennial powers in this conference. Probably the most shocking result I can think of in the last couple of years in the GPAC. So Northwestern probably going to be highly motivated coming to Mitchell this week. And or are they just not the team they've been? And can DW knock them off for their first ranked win in, I think, 7 or 8 years? So I don't know. I'm really intrigued to see what happens at the Q on Saturday.
1 o'clock, Northwestern and Dakota Wesleyan. Yeah, an amazing box score. They were 10 of 22 on third downs. They were 2 of 4 on fourth, just to run 22 third down plays.
Yeah, what does that say about first and second down?
It's incredible. So
skipped it.
Skip it.
Wesleyan back at home. USD appears to have a running back. Charles Pierre.
There are some of them on the roster, yeah.
Charles Pierre Jr. says, so long, he's hurt, he's out for the year, but then they bring in another junior. L.J. Phillips just comes in, runs for 301 yards.
Is that all?
That's all. 35 carries, couple touchdowns, 301 yards.
Well, USD definitely won by multiple scores then. I mean, if you have a big rush.
45-10.
Yeah, big rushing day like that.
They played a team that doesn't win any D1 games. Yeah, they won by a lot.
They played Northern Colorado, went to overtime. Coyotes win 24-17. They've got Drake this week. And, yeah, just USD not as good as people thought. They're just not that preseason top 5 team. This was the test of, okay, can you beat a team, your home opener, you beat a so-so Northern Colorado team, and this was a struggle throughout, and he needed a career day of school and a near-school record-setting day, 301 yards for L.J. Phillips Jr.
Can I just say it, Marcus? They should have lost this game.
Right.
Yeah.
Northern Colorado had first and goal inside the 1 with like less than a minute to go and ran 3 plays and couldn't gain 4 feet or less.
It had to kick an 18-yard field goal to go.
They might have gone backwards 4 feet.
Yeah. I'm stunned with. I understand they had the coaching change both at the top and with who's calling the plays on offense, but they have been flat out bad in the passing game, just not very good. And, I think rushing-wise, this is where they've made their name the last few years. It's why we know about Travis Tice and Charles Pierre Jr. And so they need L.J. Phillips and they need another guy or another 2 guys to help build this rushing game. Our Coyote writer, Trey Haushen, wrote about it this week. Their offensive line actually hasn't been that bad. They haven't given up a lot of sacks or anything like that. But they just have not been in sync passing-wise. I think their pass catchers are a little lacking to this point, and Aiden Bauman just has not been as sharp as we would expect. And their defense has been fine. Aside, you got to remember to throw out the Iowa State game in a lot of ways, but defense has been fine.
37 points in 2 FCS games. That's not that bad.
I think they're going to be a team that's going to be underwhelming overall because they've already put themselves in this situation. But certainly, could they jump up and pluck somebody in the Valley? Yes, but I just think they're not playing like a playoff team right now.
Yeah, go ahead, Travis. It's just hard to get a good read on where they're at without seeing the offense click. If the offense all of a sudden starts to do something, they're going to make, I think, a huge leap in not very long. But can we count on that to happen? I'm not sure at this point because it's looked pretty dicey in the passing game for sure.
It's very interesting that they're playing Drake this week because this is the opponent where you should come out and beat them 45-10 or 45-17. But SDSU did not do that. They just played these guys, and their offense did not have necessarily the firepower that people were expecting or has been traditionally with Drake. And Drake was tough. Drake played, I think, above their level in that matchup. Can they do it again? Coming back on the road, coming back to South Dakota, playing USD, we'll see.
A bye week for SDSU.
Improvement week.
The improvement week for Stig. Yeah, 37-21, they beat Drake. It was not, they probably gave up more points than people expected. 31 or 37-21. It's a win, so you move on, and then you got Mercyhurst next week as you wrap up the non-conference, and then you start at Youngstown State, who's 2-1. Youngstown beat Mercyhurst 24-15. In their opener a couple of Thursdays ago, and they only lost at Michigan State last week by 3, or I guess 41-24. So Youngstown State.
Mercyhurst, if you follow the Sickos Committee on Twitter, they're on the FCS Ride to Hell tour because they played Youngstown, they played Sac State last week, they played Montana State this week, then they play SDSU. That's tough. So I hope they're getting decent sized checks for play these games. Otherwise, holy cow, welcome to the FCS.
Welcome to the FCS, kid.
Corner Booth Podcast, wrapping it up here this week with Marcus and Landon. In my opinion, Saturday is the biggest Nebraska game they've had in, 10 years.
Well, the matchup against Colorado last year or 2 years, that was a big deal. There's a lot of hype behind that.
The one good year under Mike Riley, we hosted Ohio State, and that was pretty massive.
Yeah, well, didn't they have... yeah.
I think it ended 62-3.
They've had college.
How did that go?
I
think it ended 62-3
once or twice. Those have been big deals.
We had college game day that day.
Yeah.
Nebraska hosting Michigan at 2:30 on CBS. I have Nebraska. I had them as my 11 seed in my preseason playoff.
Love it.
This is the game. If they win this game, I feel very good about them going to the playoff. They have at Penn State their second to final week. They don't have to play Oregon. They don't have to play Ohio State. This is the game. You are at home. This is the game you need to win. You haven't been tested these past couple weeks. Cincinnati, that was a toss-up at Arrowhead. I mean, this is the game that kind of decides where Nebraska goes, if they're a real contender in the Big Ten with a relatively soft schedule coming up, or if they're maybe they go 9-3, get a nice bowl game, or if you're going to be in that discussion here heading into the fall months.
You don't have to tell me how big this one is. This is massive. And I think I fully recognize how talented Michigan is and the pedigree that program has put together over the last, half decade or so since their kind of resurgence. But at the end of the day, they're playing a true freshman quarterback on the road in Lincoln. Like, the Huskers have to win this game.
And you just saw what he did on the road at Oklahoma 2 weeks ago. It wasn't that special. Granted,
their pass catchers aren't really special for Michigan. They're a kind of one-dimensional offense. I feel strongly that the Huskers will win this game. And like I said, they just need to for the sake of my sanity more than anything.
Well, that I'm not worried about. That either way.
Why not?
I can go either way on that. It's really interesting because they have Michigan this week. Then they host Michigan State next week. Michigan State's just as dangerous to me as Michigan is this week. And Michigan State's a pretty heavy underdog to USC. They have to play this crazy 10 o'clock our time game on Saturday night
PM
in LA, 10 o'clock PM. So that's going to be interesting to watch. And then I've already mentioned it. I have circled the Friday night matchup against the Gophers. Keep your eyes peeled on that because the Gophers have fared very well against Nebraska over the last 4 or 5 years.
And
This
Iowa,
ain't your same old Nebraska.
Iowa at the end.
Show me.
It's going to be tough.
Iowa will make that a rock fight.
Two very exciting games last week. Georgia beats Tennessee in overtime 44-41. Then you had Texas A&M win at Notre Dame 41-40.
And Georgia Tech Clemson was pretty,
And that was the third one as well.
exciting, too.
Georgia Tech beating Clemson. All games 6.5. Notre Dame was a 6.5 point favorite. Those other two were field goal, 3.5 points there. But I guess Clemson and Notre Dame. Clemson's 1-2, losing to LSU, and then you've had Notre Dame's 0-2. But still, I like that this 12-team playoff is around, so they can still. Without it, their season's done. With they can still make a run here.
I said the national champion would be Clemson, Texas, or Notre Dame, and that's not looking good on any of those fronts. So just light that prediction on fire at this
I think
point.
Notre Dame runs the table and gets in at 10-2.
It's gonna
This
be
is
tough.
basically the exact
it's gonna be
same-
tough
yeah.
for them to get in at 10-2, though.
They will get in. And you look at these teams with the losses, they are good losses. I mean, you're not going to, Northern Illinois last year was the one Notre Dame loss, but it was only their one loss. I mean, they're losing to Miami. At the end of this thing, Miami might be a top 5 team, but you look at it, I mean, other than at Arkansas next week, they host Boise State. That's nothing. They've got USC at home. They got to go to Pitt. I mean, wins are there for Notre Dame. I mean, they very easily could have won both of these games versus Miami and A&M. They let the A&M game slip away. They made a good comeback in the fourth quarter versus Miami. But as long as those teams continue to win, 10-2 Notre Dame's going to get it.
They very well could. They've just eliminated all.
They got to go.
They've eliminated all room for error, though, because like you said, if they somehow trip up at Arkansas in 2 weeks,
they're done. Then they're done.
They're like done because
they have USC at home. That's not a walkover either.
Well, like they just don't have enough opportunities for like truly good wins. Yeah. Right now, USC is the only remaining ranked team on their schedule, and the Trojans are 25th.
See how good Navy is? They play Navy, and they rolled them last year. If Navy has another good year.
Here's the thing. It is similar to the situation they were in last year. The playoff committee or the college football playoff at large has apparently said that they're going to value these high-quality losses or who you played. We got to see it, right? I mean, that's the one thing that's going to come down to. So, if that's the case, and as of right now, Notre Dame has 2 losses to teams that are ranked in the top 16, that should be valuable. But they also have to go out and just start drilling some teams, and that starts with Purdue.
And I think an important thing, we haven't seen playoff rankings, but they're ranked 24th. In the media poll, they're 0-2. They didn't fall out of the top 25, so they're still in that mix. It's not like they got to climb a bunch of teams here. They're still in the top 25,
which I think is right.
Yeah, I mean,
they've
that's
played
fine. That's
quality,
fine with me.
2 quality teams, and they lost to Texas A&M by 1, and lost to Miami by 3. So, I mean, I think it's granted some of that again is based off preseason expectations, but I think it's fair that they're still ranked.
Marcel Reed is the quarterback for Texas A&M.
He is.
He's a sophomore. He can run like a son of a gun. I did not know it until this weekend, but I have a Marcel Reed story.
Really?
Yes. Let's
hear it.
I'm fairly certain I was around him at some point.
Okay.
His dad is Rod Reed, who was the former head coach of Tennessee State football, former linebacker, and he was there before Eddie George took over. And he was probably 8 years old when I was at Tennessee State. So I would assume at some point this kid was at a practice or at a game in the locker room when I was around. I assume I was in his proximity, if not right there, at some point, 13 years ago.
But
you're like, hey, kid, you're going to go and beat Notre Dame in South Bend.
But you didn't see this 8-year-old throw a 40-yard pass that didn't catch your attention then.
No.
So I guess you're excused for not recognizing the greatness at the time.
Yeah. So maybe he becomes something. So, good win for Texas A&M. And same thing with Clemson. They lose to LSU by a touchdown. People think Georgia Tech's going to be good. It appears that they're pretty decent, and that's not going to be a bad loss on the road. And, Clemson host Florida State. They're at South Carolina to wrap it up. Other than that, winnable games for Clemson. And Notre Dame doesn't have the benefit of being in a conference where you could sneak into a conference title game win that and get in as maybe a 3-loss team. So, yeah,
I guess that's
Clemson.
the other thing is like Notre Dame's got to pray that there's not a lot of chaos when it comes down to December. Because if there is, those spots are going to go quick.
The big knock for Clemson, I would say so far, is that they are offensively are not very good. I mean, they beat Troy, but that was the old weather assisted. They had the big break in the middle of the game. So otherwise, you might be counting your blessings. You're not 0-3.
Oh, they're down 16-0 to Troy?
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Oof. Couple games this week. I'm looking at those the group of 5 teams. My game of the week is Memphis hosting Arkansas.
Could be really, and again, I'm sure, as we've talked about with various matchups, I'm sure plenty of Arkansas people are asking, why are we playing in Memphis? We're going to run the risk of losing this game. And Arkansas has been banged up, right, a little bit. So this will be interesting to see where Memphis can land this.
Arkansas, 7.5-point favorite. A little rich for my blood. I'll be taking Memphis.
Yeah.
Liberty Bowl. I'll be in on that.
If you like Memphis, I don't know what the money line is, but you could be on that and have a nice little payday.
And then the other one, which maybe not as competitive as I expect that one to be, is Tulane at Ole Miss. This is the chance for Tulane to get a signature win. Ole Miss, a 13.5-point favorite. That one is at Ole Miss. Tulane hung on to beat Duke last week. They beat Northwestern, which isn't worth much, but you look at that American, you've got Navy and Memphis and Tulane in South Florida.
No, you're not talking about the game of the week, the Group of 5 game of the week. Landon, Group of 5 game of the week, Army and North Texas.
Oh, yes, sir. The Black Knights of the Hudson.
Let's find out.
Green.
Let's find out if North Texas is legit. They just took it to Jimmy Rogers and Wazoo last week. If North Texas can find a way to slow down Army and their sit on the ball strategy, North Texas might be a player here.
He's talking about all these good teams in the American and doesn't even mention the Mean Green.
It's a disgrace.
It is.
For over under 4.5 possessions.
For the game or
Army. Yeah, just 2 each. The way that Mitchell game was going before things went nuts in the first half is like halfway through the second, both teams had it for 2 times.
Yeah.
Things are going by very quickly.
Certainly, you didn't mention it, but certainly the Illinois-Indiana game. That's a
big one.
That's a good one. I like that on Saturday night.
Dude, everyone is sleeping on Texas Tech, Utah.
Literally, including Utah, because the game's going to start at 10 o'clock local time.
I get
Jesus.
it, but I think that's where game day needed to be. And
they picked Florida and Miami.
Yeah.
So
Florida and DJ Legway's 5 interceptions.
Pro tip to DJ Legway: don't throw 5 interceptions.
Don't throw 5 interceptions
because they were in the game against LSU, and the 5 interceptions hurt pretty bad.
It's crazy to me that they were in Baton Rouge. He threw 5 picks, and it was a 10-point game.
Yeah, Illinois at Indiana, NBC at 6:30. Are you surprised that Indiana is a touchdown favorite?
Yes, sir.
6.5. I mean, that seems fishy. So fishy. I got Illinois in the playoff. 6.5-point favorite for Indiana at home. That almost makes me feel like, well, I got to go with Indiana here
because this teams do you have in the playoffs?
So you have Illinois, Nebraska,
Oregon,
and Ohio State. You don't have Penn State.
4. I got 5.
Wow.
I think I have. This ain't going to happen.
Rutgers?
13 seed. 13.
They'll be in the play-in.
It ain't going to happen like this. I only had 2 SEC teams in.
That is not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Yeah. But you look at, okay, I guess I had Alabama, which doesn't look great. I did not have Georgia. Good win for them. But you're looking at, playoff. You still like Texas. You still like LSU. You still like Georgia. I feel like those are the 3 from as anybody else other than that. Alabama's probably going to lose a couple here. Tennessee probably going to lose a couple. I don't think the SEC.
Tennessee needed that one against Georgia.
Yeah. And you feel like, Texas, LSU, it might be only 3 teams from the SEC. So that's why I like a boatload of 5.
Well, and right now, would you put your life on LSU?
No.
I don't know that I would. I mean,
Texas.
I don't know that I put my life on Texas making it.
All of them.
No, I'm pretty confident on Georgia after what I saw. Yeah.
They got Alabama next week. They gotta win that game.
They're not going to see an offense quite that dynamic every week. So
I think for Indiana to be that type of favorite when they've played FIU, Old Dominion, and Indiana State, come on,
soft schedule.
But they beat
Indiana
year. State 73-0.
I look at that.
So do the teams in the Missouri Valley.
Oof.
That just makes me rethink. It's like, how? Like, how are they a 6.5-point favorite against a team that
somebody claims to know something, especially since I would imagine
who's betting on Indiana?
Illinois is going to be, they're going to be willing to take the air out of the ball at least a little bit.
So maybe a low possession game. And then Vanderbilt with a big win at South Carolina. And this opens things up for
Called that last week, by the way.
Vanderbilt to be in the conversation for a little bit because they've got Georgia State and Utah State before they go at Alabama. And then Alabama could maybe be had this year. So tough end here with, still got Texas and Tennessee and LSU. But just to have Vanderbilt maybe be at that halfway point, 5-0, maybe 6-0, and maybe breathing on that top 10 for that first half, it would be awfully fun to watch.
Clark Lee's team is unironically a very good football team.
Well, it shows that they're more than just Diego Pavia, too. So, because that game wasn't close, right? It was a pretty...
Well, the quarterback,
they allowed 7 points.
Quarterback got hurt.
Now, Lenora Sellers did get hurt.
Yeah.
So that hurts. So it hurts and it really hurts. So good little last couple of weeks. College football's been good, and hopefully a little some good college football here. I'm going to be in Sioux Falls for the majority of the day, so I'm going to try, and if I get home at 5 or 6, we're going to try and get that Memphis-Arkansas game on first. We've got a pool noodle in the house, so I take the pool noodle and I cover up the bottom of the screen with the scores on ESPN.
Oh,
really? Yeah.
Is this a hack?
Yeah, so because I'm watching these games on the old tape delay, and then you don't really got to worry about it on any other station really except ESPN with the constant score updates. The pool noodle worked very good last week. You gotta watch out for the score updates. So the break-ins.
Yeah, fast forward through those.
You just look away.
Yeah, they're going up, yep. Pause it, mute it, fast forward.
Well, I think NBC has the thing up in the top corner, so you might have
which is kind of easier to ignore because you're. Yeah.
And so he takes a piece of notebook paper and tapes it up there. And
I think Memphis, Arkansas, I think that's going to be competitive. And then we're going to switch to the Tulane game, Old Miss, see how much Tulane can keep that competitive.
You are really in on these group of 5 teams.
And then hopefully, that's my Saturday. And hopefully I don't think it should be that big of a deal not to know what happens with Illinois, Indiana. I don't think I'll be, getting updates on that. So that's the game I want to watch Sunday, and the Nebraska, Michigan as well. That might be tougher, but the 2 Big Ten games are on the Sunday schedule.
Because there's a certain game on Sunday you're not going to watch?
I'm not watching that. I'm not watching any NFL game besides the Vikings, and Carson Wentz is starting, so I'm like, I'm not. If he starts games, I'm not watching.
He's going to win that game. I don't even know who they play, but
Cincinnati.
Oh, they're going to win.
And that's fine.
The Browning versus
I told our friend Nathan, if he gets hurt, text me. I'll watch if he gets hurt. As long as he's not in the game,
God.
I'll get hurt or whatever
sadistic.
happens. Watch out for the Achilles. If our backup is in, I'll. And then he said, well, maybe just watch when the defense is out there. I'm like, yeah. But I said I'm not watching the game.
Am I missing something? What's your beef with Carson Wentz?
Just normal bad person stuff. Probably not somebody I'd want on my team. So,
okay.
Carson Wentz.
What is the stance on the other NFL games?
I just don't want to watch them.
Why is that?
I'm bored with it. I'm done with it.
Which part?
It's like a challenge to see. Not watching it, not looking at scores. When I talk to Nathan every week, I'm like, just let you know I'm not going to watch any of these games, and I want to see how much I get just based on some Twitter things. If I blocked NFL on the on Twitter, you can block certain phrases.
Yeah,
I block that.
I put NFL in all my tweets, and I'm not seeing
I know.
that.
I'm not going to see any of your tweets. So I'm trying to see how little I can get.
Why?
Every Sunday.
I want to flesh this out.
Because it's constant. Because it's a constant, and I still get a lot without even following it.
Yeah.
Because it'll be somebody will comment something on Twitter like, well, then our friend Drew has about a kicker. Well, Dallas must have barely won against the Giants.
Which is true.
How much do you get? And then Nathan will ask me questions. Hey, who did this? Who did that? I'm like, oh, yeah. Joe Burrow got hurt. Josh Allen got banged up. How far can I go into the week without knowing certain things? Because it's a constant. And I don't care, and I don't want to watch anything because it seems like we get Bills-Jets every week for our local game. So I was like, okay. And you look at the slate, like, yeah, I don't care. I barely care about my favorite team, so And we got baseball. Baseball's still going. That'll carry me through November. And then college football. I can tape some of these college football games, get me through Sunday.
Are you rooting for the Brewers?
Not after the Bob Uecker stunt they pulled.
Was that fake or what?
Yes.
Oh, who did that?
That was brutal.
Who did that?
I think
How'd that come about?
half of it was real and half of it was fake. Like,
I don't think it wasn't real at all as far as what I read.
really?
Who broke
Yeah.
that?
The beat reporters asked about it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that he didn't write that.
How do you do that? How do you do that?
That was really bad.
That was really bad.
They blew through a lot of goodwill, at least to
Yeah.
me.
I just don't. I mean, they're a team that's
Now they
gonna
deserve to lose.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
they're gonna have to win some games here because it's playoff time. You gotta win these playoff series. So the baseball will get me through half of the football season, and then we'll get. I mean, college football is plenty. So
I'm the opposite. I'm not watching any baseball,
I know
and I'm watching all the football.
I'll watch all the
and
baseball.
I don't care. I understand that's exactly what the NFL wants, but I can't help myself. You get the fantasy league and you get the survivor pool, and I did survive with the Cowboys. Thank you, Brandon Aubrey.
Ooh.
You're a great kicker. I don't know. I like watching it. I don't know what to say about it.
And part of it is obviously with the Vikings and how close their games have been, and that is
You don't like that.
bored me. It's like
you don't
every
like
game
that
is
they're
close. It's
even
the
though that's
NFL. It's
literally
like,
the entire league.
it is that's why it's like, oh, Dallas Giants. It's
You'd be
close.
more excited if it was 42-13.
Or once I like Detroit. I'd like to watch Detroit. Like, oh yeah, Detroit will blow a team out every once in a while. They'll put up like 45 and win by 4 touchdowns. Like teams don't even do that. Very rarely. It's like, is it that? Are teams that close? Or it's like, every week it's, oh, let me guess, it was a 4-point game. Oh, great. Yeah, great. 80% of the games are within like a touchdown or 4 points. It's like, great.
But you know what? You always get things that you didn't expect. You get Pittsburgh bungling a kickoff.
And it's stupid things like that. It's like,
and
really?
the Denver Indianapolis,
It's just
the
dumb.
field goal
Just
thing.
dumb.
It's great.
Leveraging.
Kick it again.
But we can't get a leveraging call on any of the tush pushes.
Even though I'm pretty sure you could call leveraging 85% of field goals. So
there's all these screenshots floating around about how every single one of both the Eagles' offensive line and the Chiefs' defensive line are both offsides on the same.
Yeah, you got to call false start or offsides, and they don't want to call either one.
All freaking 12 guys in the trenches are offsides at one time, but no flags are being thrown.
And the Tom Brady stuff has reared its head again, and it's like,
which was
enough.
totally predictable.
And then just the discourse on J.J. McCarthy, it's exhausting, and I don't even freaking follow it. It's like, enough.
So is he good or is he bad?
Enough. It's like, Jesus Christ, he's just started.
You think he's Jesus Christ?
Playing, yes, he's going to resurrect himself with this ankle
Well, I mean, if he
injury.
could fix his ankle, that'd be a
It's
a
like
plus.
it's too. I just can't. He's bad, and then he has a
Wentz
good
against
quarter.
Rodgers in Dublin.
It's just, oh no, Brock Purdy and Trey Lance. It's like, geez, it's like, how? They've played 2 games. It feels like the season's been going for 4 months. It's like, enough, please. Go on a lockout, a strike, something to get rid of this for a couple of years. It's just ridiculous.
Wow.
It's that bad.
I
skipped. I
coming
figured
from a dark
broken.
place.
You're broken.
I did. I skipped the Super Bowl and say, I don't care about this Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl.
Well, you were right to skip it. It
I
wasn't that good
didn't
of a
watch
game.
it. I'm like, if I can skip this Super Bowl, I can skip week 2 between Jets-Bills. I think I can live without watching Packers-Lions week 1. So
Here's my thing.
that's the way we're going.
I have the games on. I'm not living and dying with every play. I'm not even living and dying with every Vikings play. So I a long time ago, I felt like I created a space where this is where the NFL lives. I'm not going to let it become any bigger than that. That's kind of my general approach.
Okay, and there's plenty of college football that I want to see. So I'm saying,
Well, you're taping games and you're watching them later,
That's
clearly.
right. And another thing,
And using the pool noodle.
these games are just too long. That's why. I mean, it's ridiculous. Football games are too long.
The NFL doesn't have that problem.
They have the problem as well.
No, they don't.
I started the Vikings game, I think, an hour late.
You know they're going to be a 3-hour game.
I know it's ridiculous.
That's at least you know how long it's going to. College football has a bigger problem with that.
all football besides, I guess, high school. But
Well, clearly not.
All
You
of
almost
these-
had a 2-hour game last week.
That was good. That was fine. They cut 5 minutes off of halftime. They didn't do an anthem. Storm the Capitol. By God, they didn't do a national anthem. Like, oh, thank you.
Sing the national anthem at
Let's get this thing
10:30
going.
p.m.
So
I know where to send the letters.
that's right. P.O. Box. The P.O. Box. Corner booth. We thank Jimmy Johns. We thank Marlins. We thank James Valley Landscape Solutions.
Thank you.
Where can people go? Again, you've got a few of those high school teams on buys. You don't have SDSU this week. A bit of a bye week. There's maybe some space or some things to look at that you maybe don't look at.
I got to work just as hard, Travis. I don't get a
even
bye
harder.
week.
I get a bye
Landon got a
week.
bye week.
Good.
He's going to be gallivanting around the Dairyland State.
Go Wisconsin. All right.
So, yeah, Mitchell
Shout out to my
Republic.com.
buddy for getting married on a college football
Fall-
Saturday in the fall.
fall
What's
weekend.
up with that?
I will defend
love
fall
you,
weddings
Dierks.
from the standpoint
Yeah.
of they're probably cheaper. And if you need to get a discount on these incredibly expensive things that are known as weddings, you do what you need to do.
Let that sink in. Corner booth, iTunes, Spotify, Marcus, Landon, Mitchell Republic, Travis, Mitchell Football up next.